Maria lived in a quiet neighborhood on the edge of the city. Her small apartment was not fancy, but it was clean, warm, and filled with love. She had lived there for years, raising her only son, Alex, by herself. Life had never been easy for Maria. She worked 2 jobs every day, one in a local diner during the morning and another at a small store in the evening. She always woke up early, cooked breakfast for Alex, packed his lunch, and made sure he had everything he needed for school. Even when she was tired, she smiled and made time to listen to him, help him with homework, and share little stories from her day. Alex, a 16-year-old boy, admired his mother more than anything in the world. He saw her struggle, her sacrifices, and the love she poured into their small family. Even though she was tired, she never complained. She always told Alex, "We may not have much, but we have each other, and that is enough." Alex took her words seriously. He promised himself that he would always protect his mother, just as she protected him. One chilly evening, Maria had finished her shift at the store and was walking home with a few groceries. The streetlights glowed softly and the air smelled of rain from earlier that day. She was tired, her legs aching from standing for hours, but she felt a sense of peace. Alex was already home, doing his homework at the small desk by the window. She thought about joining him for a quick chat, and maybe a cup of tea before bed. Suddenly, as she approached their building, she noticed flashing blue and red lights reflecting on the walls. 2 police cars were parked in front of her apartment, and officers were standing outside, speaking loudly. Maria's heart skipped a beat. She did not know why they were there. Before she could react, one of the officers noticed her and called out, "You, come here." Maria's hands trembled slightly as she walked toward them.
"Yes, officers?"
"Is something wrong?" she asked politely, trying to remain calm. The officer frowned. "We received a complaint about noise and disturbances coming from this apartment. We need to ask you a few questions." Maria was confused. She had no idea what disturbance they were talking about. "I'm sorry, officers. I don't know about any noise. My son is inside studying and I was just coming home from work." But instead of listening, the officer's tone became harsher. "Don't argue. Step aside and let us ask questions." Maria felt a wave of panic. She had never been treated this way by the police before. She had always respected law enforcement, and she believed in following rules. But now she felt small and powerless. Her stomach twisted as the officers began asking questions in a rough, impatient manner. They accused her of things she did not do, and their words felt like sharp needles. Alex, who had heard the commotion from inside, rushed to the door. He saw his mother being questioned aggressively, her hands shaking slightly as she tried to explain herself. Anger and worry surged through him. He had never seen his mother look so vulnerable. Normally she was strong and confident, but now she seemed like a small bird trapped in a storm. "Mom!" Alex shouted, running outside. "What is happening? Why are they treating you like this?" One officer glared at him.
"Stay back, kid."
"This is none of your business." Alex's jaw tightened. "It is my business." "You are being unfair to my mother." The officer scoffed and waved him away, but Alex stood his ground. He could see the frustration in his mother's eyes, and he knew he had to do something. Maria tried to calm him, whispering, "Alex, it's okay. Let me handle it." But Alex was not going to let this go. He had seen the injustice, and he could not stay silent. He noticed that the officers were ignoring her explanations and continuing to speak over her. Maria's voice wavered as she tried to explain, but the officers interrupted her repeatedly, her cheeks flushed with a mix of anger and embarrassment. Alex felt his fists clench. He wanted to shout, to demand respect for his mother, but he knew yelling might make things worse. Instead, he took a deep breath and tried to think. He remembered what his mother had taught him. Even in difficult situations, staying calm and thinking clearly could help. The officers continued their questions, asking for details about her work, her son, and her daily routines. Maria answered politely, but she could feel her energy draining. She wanted to cry, but she held back tears, trying to stay strong for Alex. She looked at him and saw his worried eyes, and it gave her a little courage. The neighbors were watching from their windows, whispering among themselves. Some shook their heads at how the officers were behaving. Maria felt a mix of shame and helplessness, knowing that people were watching her, seeing her treated unfairly. She had always tried to live quietly, to keep her life simple and peaceful, and now this public humiliation was overwhelming. Alex, meanwhile, was thinking fast. He knew he could not confront the officers directly, They were too powerful and his mother's safety was the priority. But he also knew he could not let this incident end like this. He needed a solution, a way to protect his mother and make sure she was treated fairly. As the officers prepared to leave, saying they would follow up on the complaint, Alex quietly observed everything. He memorized their names, the badge numbers, and even the car numbers. He asked neighbors for their observations, noting down every detail. His mind was racing with plans. He knew that if nothing was done, his mother could be subjected to similar treatment again. He also knew that his mother had always tried to avoid trouble, but sometimes avoiding trouble was not enough. That night, after the officers had left, Maria sat at the kitchen table, exhausted and shaken. Alex sat across from her, notebooks and papers spread out before him. "Mom," he said gently, "this is not right. They should not have treated you that way. We have to do something." Maria sighed, a mixture of relief and worry on her face. "Alex, I don't want to make this bigger than it is. I just want to forget it and move on." Alex shook his head. "No, Mom, we cannot just forget it. If we do nothing, they will continue to treat people like this. We have to stand up not just for you, but for anyone who might face the same thing." Maria looked at her son and realized how much he had grown. He was no longer a small child who needed her protection. He was brave, determined, and ready to take action. She felt a mix of pride and concern. She knew standing up to authority could be dangerous, but she also trusted Alex's judgment. "Okay," she said quietly. "Let's think about what we can do. But we need to be smart, calm, and careful." Alex nodded, already planning the next steps in his mind. He knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but he was determined to make sure his mother's dignity was restored. That night, they stayed up late, discussing strategies, writing down details, and thinking about who could help them. Even though the incident had left them shaken, it also strengthened their bond. Maria realized that having Alex by her side made her feel safer and more hopeful. And Alex realized that even one person, with courage and careful planning, could fight against unfairness. The next morning, the sun rose over the quiet neighborhood, but the events of the previous evening still hung heavy in the air. Maria and Alex knew that this was only the beginning of their fight for justice, and they were ready to face whatever came next. Alex promised himself that he would not let his mother face injustice alone, and Maria promised herself that she would support him in any way she could. Together, they were determined to turn a frightening experience into a story of courage and hope. After the meeting with the mayor's assistant, Alex and Maria felt a mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation. For the first time, they sensed that their voices might actually bring about real change. Maria tried to go about her day as usual, cooking, cleaning, and preparing for her evening job, but she could not shake the feeling of hope that had entered their small apartment. She kept glancing at Alex, seeing his determined expression as he reviewed the evidence and prepared notes. Alex, meanwhile, could hardly concentrate on anything else. He spent hours thinking about the next steps. He knew the mayor's promise to follow up was encouraging, but he also understood that action would not happen instantly. He wanted to make sure that when the time came, they were ready to respond and provide any additional details that could help. His notebook was filled with careful notes, observations, and reminders, each one organized meticulously. As the day progressed, Alex decided to take proactive steps. He drafted another message to the mayor's office, politely following up to ensure they had received all the evidence and understood the situation fully. He attached additional notes from neighbors who had witnessed the police behavior, along with a few photos he had taken the previous evening. He wanted to make their case as clear and undeniable as possible. Maria watched him work, a mixture of pride and worry filling her heart. "Alex," she said gently, "you are doing so much. Are you sure this is safe? I don't want you to get into trouble." Alex smiled reassuringly. "Mom, we're careful. We are telling the truth and we are polite. We are not doing anything wrong. We just want justice." Maria nodded, realizing he was right. For years, she had taught Alex to stand up for what was right, to help others when they were in need, and to never ignore unfairness. Now she saw those lessons in action. Her son was no longer just a teenager. He was thoughtful, brave, and capable of handling responsibility beyond his years. Later that afternoon, Alex took a short walk around their neighborhood to clear his mind. He thought about how this incident had affected them and what it could mean for the future. He realized that injustice often went unchallenged because people did not know how to respond. Many citizens might have faced mistreatment by authorities, feeling powerless and alone. Alex wanted their story to become an example of how careful planning, courage, and persistence could create real change. When he returned home, Maria greeted him with a warm smile. "I see you are still thinking about it," she said. "I am proud of you, Alex, but remember to rest too." "I know, Mom," Alex replied. "I just want to make sure we do everything we can." Over the next few days, Alex and Maria prepared for what could be the most important moment of their lives, the meeting with the mayor himself. They reviewed all the details again, discussing exactly what they wanted to say and how to present it clearly. Alex practiced explaining the events calmly and logically, making sure to focus on facts rather than emotions. Maria rehearsed answering questions about her daily life and the impact of the officer's behavior. Meanwhile, Alex thought about the bigger picture. He realized that standing up for his mother was important, but he also wanted to make a difference for others in their community. If they could show that even one family could reach the mayor and receive help, it might inspire others to do the same. Alex began thinking about ways to share their story responsibly, ensuring that it could educate and encourage others without putting anyone at risk. The day of the meeting arrived. Alex and Maria dressed neatly, their clothes simple but clean, reflecting respect for the occasion. Alex carried his notebook, filled with notes and evidence, while Maria held a small folder with witness statements. Their hearts raced as they approached the city hall, the building imposing but welcoming. They felt a mixture of nerves, excitement, and determination. As they entered the mayor's office, they were greeted warmly by the mayor himself. His presence was calm, approachable, and attentive. He invited them to sit, and the room seemed to shrink as their focus turned entirely to the conversation ahead. Alex felt a flutter of nervousness but reminded himself to stay calm. He had prepared for this moment. Alex began speaking first, explaining the incident in detail. He described how the police had arrived at their apartment, the way the officers had treated his mother, and the impact it had on their family. He provided dates, times, badge numbers, and photos. His voice was steady, his words clear and precise. Maria added her perspective, speaking about how the officer's behavior had made her feel humiliated, scared, and powerless. She described the emotional toll it had taken on her daily life. The mayor listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions to clarify details. He asked about the officer's behavior, about previous complaints in the area, and about any actions Maria or Alex had taken so far. Alex and Maria answered honestly and politely, staying focused on facts and evidence. The mayor nodded as he took notes, showing that he valued their input. Throughout the meeting, Alex felt a growing sense of confidence. He realized that their careful preparation and persistence were paying off. The mayor's attention reassured them that someone in authority truly cared about their story and wanted to ensure fairness. Maria felt a wave of relief as she noticed how the mayor treated them with respect and understanding. After an hour of discussion, the mayor spoke directly to them. "I want you both to know that your voices matter," he said. "What happened to you is not acceptable, and I will personally ensure that it is addressed. The officers involved will be reminded of proper conduct, and we will review procedures to prevent such incidents in the future." Maria felt tears welling in her eyes, but she held them back, smiling instead. Alex felt a rush of pride and satisfaction. Their efforts, their courage, and their careful planning had made a real difference. The mayor also praised Alex for his initiative. "It is impressive to see such determination and responsibility in someone your age," he said. "You acted with courage and respect, and you helped bring attention to an important issue." Leaving the mayor's office, Maria and Alex walked through the city streets with a sense of accomplishment. The sun was shining, and for the first time in days, they felt light and hopeful. Maria looked at her son and felt a surge of gratitude. "Alex," she said softly, "you have grown into an amazing young man. I am so proud of you." Alex smiled, feeling warmth and love in his chest. "Mom, I just wanted to help. You've always been there for me, and now it's my turn to be there for you." That evening, back in their apartment, they discussed what they had learned. They talked about how important it was to speak up, to gather evidence, and to stay calm and respectful. They realized that standing up for oneself was not about anger or confrontation. It was about persistence, clarity, and courage. Alex also reflected on the larger lesson. He understood that sometimes injustice occurs not because people are bad, but because systems are imperfect. By acting responsibly and reaching out to the right people, even ordinary citizens could make a real difference. He began thinking about ways to share this knowledge with others in their community, helping people understand their rights and empowering them to act when necessary. Maria, too, felt a renewed sense of strength. She realized that she did not have to face unfair treatment alone. With support, preparation, and courage, she could protect herself and her family. She felt inspired to help others in similar situations, knowing now that reaching out for help could bring meaningful change. As they prepared for bed that night, Maria hugged Alex tightly. "Tonight I feel like we have turned a frightening experience into something positive," she said. Alex hugged her back, smiling. "We did it together, Mom, and this is just the beginning. We can make a difference one step at a time." The night was calm and the small apartment felt warmer than ever. For Maria and Alex, the events of the past days had changed their lives. They had faced fear, injustice, and uncertainty, and had come out stronger. They knew that courage, persistence, and standing up for what is right could create real change. And most importantly, they had learned that when a family works together, there is no challenge too big to face. The morning after the frightening visit from the police, Alex woke up early, full of determination. He could still see the fear and sadness on his mother's face from the night before. Maria had tried to act strong, but Alex knew her well. He could tell that the incident had shaken her deeply. As he watched her make breakfast, he noticed how her hands trembled slightly when she poured coffee, how she paused for a moment, staring into space. It was clear that the memory of being treated unfairly was still heavy in her mind. Alex knew that he could not let this go. He felt a strong sense of responsibility to protect his mother and to make sure that what happened to her would not happen again. He remembered the conversations they had late into the night, how they had carefully written down what happened, who was involved, and what they could do next. Now it was time to put their plan into action. After breakfast, Alex sat at the small desk in their apartment. He opened his laptop and began researching. He looked up local laws regarding police conduct, citizens' rights, and how to file complaints against officers. His eyes scanned pages after pages of legal advice, community guidelines, and government resources. He took notes in a small notebook, organizing the information carefully. Every detail could be important later. Maria watched him from the kitchen, quietly stirring a pot of oatmeal. She was proud of her son, but also worried. "Alex," she said gently, "you are very brave, but please be careful. The police are powerful and we don't want to make things worse." Alex looked up and nodded. "I know, Mom, I'm not going to act recklessly. But we cannot stay silent. Someone has to make sure this is taken seriously." Maria sighed, realizing he was right. She had spent her life trying to avoid trouble, believing that staying quiet was the safest choice. But now she saw that sometimes speaking up was necessary. She also realized that Alex had grown into a thoughtful, determined young man who could think clearly even in difficult situations. The first step Alex decided on was to gather as much evidence as possible. He spoke to neighbors who had witnessed the police visit. Mrs. Thompson, an elderly woman who lived across the hall, had seen the officers treat Maria rudely. She remembered the way one officer had raised his voice, making Maria flinch. "I couldn't believe it," Mrs. Thompson said. "She's always so polite and kind. They had no right to speak to her that way." Another neighbor, a young father named Carlos, had seen Alex rushing to the door, standing up for his mother. "That boy was brave," Carlos said. "I don't know many kids who would do that. I hope someone listens to him." Alex wrote down all their statements carefully, making sure to note the exact words and actions they had witnessed. He also reviewed the photos and notes he had taken the previous night. Every detail mattered: badge numbers, car numbers, the time, and even the way the officers had spoken to his mother. Next, Alex thought about the complaint process. He knew that filing a report with the police department might be slow and could take weeks with no guarantee of a fair response. He wanted a faster, more direct approach. That was when an idea struck him: contacting the city authorities directly. If someone higher up heard the story, they could act quickly and ensure justice. He spent hours looking for the right contact. He wanted someone who had the power to make changes, someone who would actually listen. Finally, he found the mayor's office email and phone number. He knew it was a long shot, but he felt it was worth trying. Before reaching out, Alex carefully wrote a draft. He wanted to make sure his message was clear, respectful, and detailed. He began by explaining who he was and the incident that had occurred. He described how his mother had been treated unfairly, the names of the officers involved, and the impact it had on their family. He emphasized that his mother had done nothing wrong, and that the officers' behavior had been unnecessary and disrespectful. Alex also attached the witness statements, photos, and notes he had collected. He wanted to make sure that the mayor could see the situation clearly. After rereading the email several times, making small corrections and checking for clarity, he felt ready to send it. Maria watched him as he hesitated over the send button. "Are you sure about this?" she asked softly. Alex nodded firmly. "Yes, Mom, we need someone to hear our side. If we don't speak up, nothing will change." With a deep breath, he pressed send. A small sense of relief washed over him, but he also knew that waiting would be difficult. He tried to keep busy, helping his mother with household chores, checking his school assignments, and even going for a short walk to clear his mind. Every few minutes, he checked his phone, hoping for a response. Hours passed with no reply, and Maria began to worry. "Alex," she said, "maybe no one will respond. We can't expect miracles." But Alex refused to lose hope. He reminded her that even if the response took time, they had done the right thing. Speaking up was the first step. He also told her that he would not stop until someone listened and took action. Late in the afternoon, the phone rang. Alex picked it up quickly, his heart racing. On the other end, a calm, professional voice introduced themselves as the mayor's assistant. They explained that the mayor had personally received his message and wanted to schedule a meeting to discuss the incident. Alex's heart leapt. He could hardly believe that the mayor himself was taking the time to listen to them. Maria was stunned when Alex told her the news. She felt a mix of hope, pride, and anxiety. "I can't believe it," she whispered. "The mayor? He's actually going to listen to us?" "Yes, Mom," Alex said. "We are going to be heard, and this time they won't be able to ignore us." The next day, Maria and Alex prepared carefully for the meeting. Alex wanted to make sure they could present their story clearly and calmly. He wrote down key points, reviewed the evidence one more time, and practiced explaining the situation without getting too emotional. Maria also prepared herself, reminding herself to stay composed and focus on the facts. When the day of the meeting arrived, they felt nervous but determined. They were greeted by the mayor personally, who listened attentively as Alex explained the events in detail. Maria added her perspective, describing how the officer's behavior had made her feel humiliated and scared. The mayor asked thoughtful questions, showing that he genuinely wanted to understand what had happened. By the end of the meeting, Maria felt a sense of relief she had not felt in days. She realized that sometimes speaking up and taking action could bring positive results. Alex, on the other hand, felt proud of himself. He had taken initiative, stayed calm under pressure, and protected his mother. More importantly, he had made a real difference. The mayor promised to follow up, ensuring that the officers involved would be held accountable and that procedures would be reviewed to prevent similar incidents. Alex and Maria left the meeting with a renewed sense of hope. They realized that even when facing injustice, courage, careful planning, and persistence could create change. That evening, back at home, Maria hugged her son tightly. "Alex," she said softly, "I don't know what I would have done without you. You were brave, smart, and strong. You made me feel safe again." Alex smiled, feeling a warmth in his heart. "Mom, I just did what I had to do. We are a team, and I will always protect you." The night felt different that day. The fear and tension from the previous evening had been replaced with a sense of empowerment. Maria and Alex knew that they had faced a challenge together and had come out stronger. They had learned an important lesson. Even in moments of fear and uncertainty, taking action, standing up for yourself, and seeking help from the right people could lead to justice. From that day forward, they also realized that this experience was not just about their family. It was about making sure that no one else in their community would have to face similar mistreatment. Alex knew that he had set an example of courage, responsibility, and persistence that could inspire others. Maria, for her part, felt proud of her son in a way that words could not fully express. She had raised a young man who was not only kind and responsible, but also brave and determined to do what was right. And Alex, in turn, learned that standing up for someone you love, even when it feels scary, could make a real difference in the world. In the weeks after the police incident and the meetings with the mayor, Maria and Alex began to feel a sense of peace they had not experienced in a long time. The officers involved had been reminded of their responsibilities, proper procedures were being reinforced, and the mayor continued to follow up to ensure that such incidents would be less likely to happen again. But for Maria and Alex, the change went beyond just the official actions. It was the confidence, courage, and unity they had gained that truly transformed their lives. Maria returned to her daily routine with a renewed sense of strength. She went to work without the anxiety that had shadowed her every step after the police visit. When she walked through her neighborhood, she no longer flinched at the sight of a uniformed officer. She understood that she had the right to be treated with respect, and she had seen firsthand that speaking up could lead to change. Her friends and neighbors noticed the difference. They admired her resilience and how she carried herself with quiet dignity. Some even asked her for advice, wanting to know how she had handled such a stressful and unfair situation. Alex, too, felt proud and motivated. He realized that courage was not just about facing fear in the moment. It was about preparation, persistence, and thinking clearly. He began to consider ways to help others in similar situations. He started by talking to his friends at school, explaining the importance of knowing one's rights and standing up respectfully when something is wrong. He also suggested that they could share their story safely in community newsletters or local online groups to educate others. Alex wanted the experience to have a broader impact beyond their family. One evening, Maria and Alex sat together at their small kitchen table, sipping tea and reflecting on what had happened. Maria spoke softly, her voice filled with gratitude and pride. "Alex, I never thought we would see the day when someone in authority would listen to us. You were so brave and thoughtful. You didn't just protect me. You helped create a change that could prevent this from happening to someone else." Alex smiled, feeling warmth in his chest. "Mom, we did it together. I just followed the lessons you taught me, about staying calm, thinking carefully, and doing what's right. You've always been my example of strength and kindness." Maria nodded, realizing how much her son had grown. This experience had shown her that Alex was more than capable of facing challenges with wisdom and courage. She felt proud, knowing that the young man sitting across from her was someone she could rely on, someone who would always stand up for justice. Over the next few months, Maria and Alex became quietly active in their community. They began by offering advice to neighbors who had faced minor conflicts or unfair treatment. Alex even created a small guide with simple steps for documenting incidents, gathering witness statements, and reaching out to the right authorities. They emphasized the importance of staying calm, being respectful, and focusing on facts rather than anger. Their work inspired other families, who realized that standing up for oneself could lead to positive results without creating unnecessary conflict. The local newspaper caught wind of their story and ran a short article highlighting their experience. The story focused on how Alex, a young teenager, had helped his mother navigate a difficult situation and bring it to the attention of the mayor. The article praised the family for their courage, careful planning, and dedication to justice. Maria and Alex were pleased, but they remained humble. They hoped that by sharing their story, they could encourage others to act responsibly and bravely in the face of injustice. Through it all, the bond between Maria and Alex grew stronger. They had faced fear and uncertainty together, and they had come out more united than ever. Maria realized that their shared experience had deepened her trust in Alex and reminded her of the importance of family support. Alex understood that courage was not just a personal trait, but a shared responsibility, and that family members could be each other's strongest allies. One sunny afternoon, Maria and Alex decided to visit the local community center. They offered to speak to a small group of families about their experience and how to respond to unfair treatment safely and effectively. Alex explained how he had documented evidence, communicated respectfully, and reached out to city authorities. Maria shared her personal perspective, emphasizing how important it was to stay calm and composed, even in stressful situations. The families listened attentively, asking questions and sharing their own experiences. Maria and Alex answered patiently, providing guidance and reassurance. By the end of the session, several families expressed gratitude, saying they felt more confident about standing up for themselves and protecting their rights. Maria and Alex realized that their story could be a source of empowerment for many people, helping them navigate challenges they might have otherwise ignored. As weeks turned into months, Maria and Alex continued their advocacy quietly but steadily. They did not seek recognition or fame. They simply wanted to ensure that their experience could help others. They stayed in touch with the mayor's office, providing updates on any incidents they learned about in the neighborhood. They also kept meticulous records ready to assist if needed. Through all this, Maria noticed a remarkable change in herself. She felt lighter, more confident, and empowered. She understood that facing injustice did not mean being powerless. It meant taking thoughtful action, seeking support, and trusting that change was possible. Alex, too, felt a sense of accomplishment that went beyond the immediate situation. He realized that one person's courage, no matter their age, could create a ripple effect, inspiring others to act responsibly and bravely. One evening, as they sat together after dinner, Maria reflected on everything that had happened. "Alex," she said softly, "this experience has changed our lives. We faced fear, uncertainty, and unfairness, but we turned it into something positive. We not only protected ourselves, but we also helped our community. I am so proud of you." Alex smiled, feeling warmth and love in his heart. "Mom, I couldn't have done it without you. You've always been my guide, my example, and my strength. Together we faced this challenge and we made a difference." That night, as Maria and Alex prepared for bed, they felt a deep sense of peace. The apartment that had once felt small and vulnerable now seemed full of warmth, courage, and hope. They knew that life would continue to bring challenges, but they were ready. They had learned that preparation, persistence, and speaking up respectfully could overcome fear and create meaningful change. In the months and years that followed, Maria and Alex's story became an inspiration in their neighborhood. Friends, neighbors, and even local schools shared the lessons they had learned. The importance of documenting events carefully, the power of calm and respectful communication, and the courage to reach out to the right authorities when injustice occurs. Alex continued to grow into a responsible, thoughtful young man, always mindful of the impact his actions could have on others. Maria, for her part, carried herself with renewed confidence. She no longer felt the same anxiety whenever she interacted with officials or authority figures. She understood that dignity, respect, and courage were not just words. They were tools to protect herself and her family. She also knew that by sharing her experience, she could help others find their voices and take action when needed. Together, they reflected often on what they had accomplished. They had taken a frightening experience and turned it into an opportunity for growth, empowerment, and community support. They had learned that even in difficult circumstances, ordinary people could create extraordinary change. And most importantly, they had discovered the true strength of family, standing together, supporting each other, and facing challenges with courage and love. One quiet evening, as the sun set over their neighborhood, Maria looked at Alex and smiled. "You know, Alex," she said, "this story isn't just ours. It belongs to everyone who wants to stand up for what is right. We've shown that courage, preparation, and determination can make a difference." Alex nodded, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "Yes, Mom. And we've learned that even when things seem scary or unfair, we have the power to act. We just need to stay calm, stay honest, and keep trying. That's how real change happens." The night settled around their apartment, peaceful and calm. For Maria and Alex, the journey had been long and difficult, but it had taught them invaluable lessons about courage, justice, and the power of family. They had faced fear and uncertainty, stood up for what was right, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever before. And as they drifted off to sleep, they knew that no matter what challenges life might bring in the future, they would face them together, with determination, hope, and the knowledge that even one voice, used wisely, could create real and lasting change. After their meeting with the mayor, Alex and Maria felt a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. They knew that change would not happen overnight, but for the first time they believed that justice could be served. Over the next few days, the mayor's office stayed in contact, providing updates on the situation. Each message was a small reassurance that someone in authority was taking their complaint seriously. Maria tried to continue her daily routine. She worked her morning shifts at the diner and her evening job at the store, carrying on as usual for Alex's sake. But the fear and humiliation from the police incident still lingered in her mind. She felt nervous whenever she saw a uniformed officer, worried that something similar might happen again. Alex noticed this, and it made him more determined to ensure that his mother would never have to feel this way again. Alex continued to gather evidence and information. He spoke to neighbors, documented everything in his notebook, and kept track of any communications with the police department and city officials. He wanted to be ready in case the situation required more attention. He also researched citizen rights, learning how to approach officials and present evidence clearly and respectfully. He wanted to make sure that their actions were precise and effective. One afternoon, they received an official notice from the police department. The officers involved were required to attend a formal review meeting. The department had been instructed to evaluate their behavior, review proper protocols, and ensure that all citizens were treated with respect. Alex and Maria could hardly believe it. The city was taking real steps to address their complaint. On the day of the review meeting, Alex and Maria prepared carefully. They dressed neatly, organized their notes, and reviewed all evidence one more time. Maria was nervous but also determined. She realized that this meeting was not just for her. It was also for anyone who might face mistreatment in the future. She wanted to make sure that her voice was heard and that her experience could help others. When they arrived at the police department, the atmosphere was formal, but not hostile. The officers involved appeared calm, perhaps realizing that their actions were being scrutinized carefully. The department officials welcomed Maria and Alex, acknowledging their courage in bringing the matter forward. The room was quiet, filled with tension and anticipation. Alex began by explaining the incident in detail. He described what had happened the night the officers came to their apartment, how his mother had been treated, and the impact it had on their family. He provided dates, times, badge numbers, and witness statements. Maria added her perspective, speaking calmly but firmly about how the experience had made her feel humiliated, scared, and powerless. The officials listened carefully, asking questions to clarify the details. They wanted to understand exactly what had happened and ensure that their investigation was thorough. Alex and Maria responded honestly, focusing on facts and avoiding emotional outbursts. Their calm, clear, and organized presentation made a strong impression. After several hours of discussion, the department officials concluded that the officers had acted inappropriately. They emphasized that citizen rights must be respected at all times, and that proper conduct was non-negotiable. The officers involved were given warnings, and additional training on communication and respectful behavior was required. Alex and Maria were informed that these steps would help prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. Maria felt a deep sense of relief. The weight of humiliation she had carried for days finally began to lift. She realized that speaking up and taking action had not only protected her but also contributed to creating a fairer system for others. Alex felt proud, knowing that his careful planning, persistence, and courage had helped bring about this outcome. After the meeting, the mayor personally contacted them to follow up. He expressed his satisfaction with how the situation had been handled and assured them that the city would continue to monitor the police department to maintain accountability. The mayor also praised Alex for his initiative and determination. "It is inspiring to see such responsibility and courage in someone your age," he said. "Your actions helped ensure that justice was served." Alex and Maria returned home with a renewed sense of hope. They knew that the events of the past days had changed their lives forever. The fear and tension that had dominated their daily lives were replaced with a feeling of empowerment. They had learned that even in the face of authority, speaking up respectfully and persistently could lead to meaningful change. In the days that followed, Maria began to regain her confidence. She interacted with neighbors and coworkers without fear, realizing that she had the right to be treated with respect. She also shared her experience with close friends, encouraging them to speak up if they ever faced unfair treatment. Alex continued to document their journey, hoping that their story could help others understand their rights and feel empowered to take action. The experience also strengthened the bond between mother and son. Maria realized how capable and thoughtful Alex had become. He had acted with wisdom beyond his years, balancing courage with careful planning. Alex, in turn, felt a growing sense of responsibility. He understood that being brave was not just about standing up in the moment. It was about preparing, acting thoughtfully, and supporting those you love. Together, they began to think about ways to help others in their community. They considered organizing small workshops at the local library to educate citizens about their rights and proper procedures when dealing with authorities. They also planned to create simple guides that could help families understand how to document incidents, gather evidence, and approach officials respectfully. Through these efforts, Alex and Maria realized that their experience was not just about correcting a single injustice. It was about creating awareness, empowering others, and building a stronger, fairy community. They understood that one family's courage could ripple out and inspire change in many others' lives. As the weeks passed, life gradually returned to a sense of normalcy. Maria continued her work, and Alex kept up with school and other responsibilities. Yet the lessons from the incident remained fresh in their minds. They knew that life could be unpredictable, and that standing up for oneself was sometimes necessary to protect dignity, safety, and fairness. One evening, as they sat together after dinner, Maria looked at Alex and smiled. "I never thought I would see the day when someone in authority would listen to us and act," she said softly. Alex grinned. "It worked because we were prepared, Mom, and because we didn't give up." Speaking up doesn't always feel easy, but it can make a difference. Maria nodded, feeling a warm sense of pride. "You were right, Alex. We faced fear, uncertainty, and unfairness, but together we turned it into something positive." Alex leaned back in his chair, reflecting on everything they had accomplished. He realized that courage was not about fighting recklessly or letting anger take over. It was about staying calm, gathering facts, thinking carefully, and taking action in a way that could truly make a difference. That night, as they prepared for bed, Maria felt lighter than she had in days. She knew that their lives had changed, not just because the officers were held accountable, but because she and Alex had proven to themselves that they had the power to stand up for what was right. Alex felt a similar sense of accomplishment. He knew that they had not only protected their family, but also made a small but meaningful contribution to their community. From that day on, Maria and Alex continued to live their lives with a renewed sense of confidence and hope. They knew that injustice could happen, but they also knew that courage, persistence, and careful action could overcome it. They had turned a frightening experience into a story of empowerment, proving that even ordinary people could create real change when they refused to stay silent. And in their hearts, they carried the knowledge that family, preparation, and determination were powerful tools. Together they had faced fear, challenged authority respectfully, and emerged stronger and more united than ever. Their journey was far from over, but they now understood that with courage and care they could face anything that came their way.